Hello, welcome back. Fred in the Shed. A little bit of a review today, something a bit different. Picked up one of these rather cheap brake fluid testers that you'll see in all automotive stores, Amazon, eBay. This one cost £5 UK. They're about the same in dollars. You know, your brake fluid in your car, it is very, very important. It's often overlooked when you service a car, especially as when the car gets older. But you really can't muck about with your brake fluid. Now, your brake fluid in your car is designed to work in extreme temperatures. Obviously, when you really sort of push the brakes hard and in an emergency, a lot of heat is directed into the fluid. So brake fluid has a very, very high boiling point. It withstands a high temperature. But on the downside of that, it's something called a hygroscopic liquid. And what that means is that it absorbs moisture, and the more moisture that your brake fluid absorbs, the lower the boiling point of the fluid itself. So under extreme heavy braking, so if you're coming downhill in an emergency, you pile on the brakes, the heat from the pads on your discs or drums on the car gets transferred into the brake lines, into the calipers, and the fluid heats up. Now, if you've let your fluid become contaminated, and if it's attracted moisture, what will happen is that moisture will evaporate. It will turn into vapor, and the boiling point of the brake fluid becomes lower. In reality, what will happen is you'll push your foot onto the pedal, and you'll suddenly feel the pedal go very soft, what is known as spongy. And in a worst case scenario, if you're really braking hard, you can end up with your pedal going right to the floor, where all of the brake fluid in the caliper, for example, was boiled and it's turned to vapor, and that is called vapor lock. And if that happens, you're in serious trouble, because that is massive brake fade, and you've lost your brake. So it's worth getting your brake fluid changed. Now, these little pen devices have been on the market for some time. They're just a basic moisture device. What you've got is two sort of electrodes there, and I imagine that when you put this into a liquid, it will measure the resistance or the electrical conductivity through the liquid, and it gives you a reading. And what you've got on here, you've simply got a line of LEDs. The first one is a battery check, and it says OK, and then you've got another two LEDs here. One is 1%, below 1% moisture, one is 2% moisture, 3%, 4%. And if your brake fluid is within these two LEDs, then generally it's considered OK. But once you get up to here, the brake fluid needs changes. Now, I wouldn't personally just rely on one of these very cheap testers myself. I mean, basically, your brake fluid on your car, as a rule, needs to be changed every 2 years. You really shouldn't sort of muck about with it. But this is quite handy. We're going to give this a little test in a minute, but it's quite handy. Certainly also if you're going to put your car in for a service, for example, and you've got one of these and you want to make sure that the garage is doing their job, you could just drip this into your brake fluid reservoir, take the reading. Let's say the reading is up on number 3, and then when it comes back, if you want to see if the fluid's been changed, drop it in again. Hopefully you should be able to see a change. Now, it's worth pointing out that this tester only works with .4 brake fluid. It won't work with .5.1. Well, .5.1 isn't a problem because it's not a hygroscopic liquid anyway, so it shouldn't absorb moisture. But if you've got 5.1 in your car, then you're wasting time with this. Anyway, going to do some tests on this, so let's move on to the next bit. I'll just sort of show you that, so my brake fluid reservoir is very awkward to get to in my car, so I had to withdraw some with a syringe. I'll just show you that clip now. Right, so what I'm doing here is I'm just siphoning out some of the used brake fluid here into a syringe before I go ahead and change the fluid, and then we'll be putting that into a container, and then we'll be testing that as opposed to the fresh clean brake fluid, and we'll see what that little testing unit, we'll see what it comes up. Right, so here's what we're going to do just to test the little device. The first little pot here, tin foil pot, is just plain tap water. So I'll be expecting that to take the reading off the scale. Then I'm going to just clean the electrodes there. The second pot is brand new Castrol React Performance .4 brake fluid. So this is brand new fluid, so I'm expecting this to be perhaps the first or the second LED indicator. And in the third pot there is the fluid that you saw me withdraw from the car. Now that had been in the car approximately 2.5 years, so you can tell straight away that it's a slightly darker colour, so I'm expecting that really that should be up into the red there to say it needs changing. And then finally, assuming that those tests work, of course, what I'm going to do is I'll have a little syringe here with just some more tap water, and I'm just going to mix a tiny bit of tap water into the brand new brake fluid, and then once again we should see a different reading than we got sort of first time around. So I've not used this before, so this is sort of all new for me as well. So anyway, we're going to switch it on, and then the first one we're going to go, this is tap water. Yeah, and as you can see, as we go into tap water, straight away that's off the scale. That's more than 4%, which is what you would expect. So now I just have to make sure that I get this completely clean. So obviously we don't want any traces of any water on the elements. And there we go. That's gone back down to 0. Okay, so this is the brand new brake fluid. And yep, there we go, just one LED lit there. So that's telling us that is absolutely completely okay. There is no moisture in that, which is what we'd expect, seeing as that fluid is completely new. It's just shut itself off. So again, I just need to clean it. Now the second one, of course, this is the 2.5-year-old fluid. So this is the test, and I'm expecting for this to give me a higher reading. So I'm just going to reset it and start again. And there you go. Yeah, look at that. That's straight off the scale. Straight off the scale, that's more than 4%. And that's telling me that fluid needs changing, and I did actually change it. So pretty good job I did. So okay, so obviously the water and the old brake fluid there is getting the same result. So that is telling me the brake fluid is old and needs changing. But what about if we just maybe double check that, and we just add a tiny amount of water here to this brake fluid. So this should now, when I mix this in, brake fluid is horrible. It's a horrible liquid. It is so corrosive. So this is kind of like the sort of thing you used to at school, isn't it? This is going back to your sort of your science lesson in school there. Right, okay, so we've now added some water. So what I'm expecting, obviously remember we had a completely clear, we should now detect, and there you go. That's straight off the scale. So that obviously it's working, isn't it? There's a difference there is a difference. So there you go. Now, as I said, I wouldn't rely on this completely. Just get, if you've got any doubt, just get your brake fluid changed at the auto repair shop. Don't sort of muck about. But it does seem to work. It's certainly on those 3 tests there. It does seem to work. And as I said, if you wanted just to test that the garage or shop that is replacing your fluid is doing the job for you, then yeah, there was definitely a difference between the clean fluid and the dirty fluid. So I think that's a thread in the shed. That is a thumbs up for a very basic test. I wouldn't rely on it entirely. That's something that you could just keep in your toolbox, and maybe once every 6 months just dip that into your brake fluid reservoir and just keep an eye on how contaminated your fluid is becoming. Okay, thanks for that. I hope you enjoyed that. Please give the video the old thumbs up. That helps me and that helps the Fred in the Shed channel. If you've not already done so, hit that subscribe button down below. And then finally, before I go, I will leave you just a few little pop-up suggestions of other Fred in the Shed videos, which you're more than welcome to go ahead and view. Your views are always welcome on Fred in the Shed. But as for now, I would like to say cheers, thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll catch you all on the next one.